Testing, testing. Are we live? I think we are. With that said, let's do this. Actually, I'm in the wrong mode. Unbelievable. And I know this. Trying to figure all this stuff out. Let's bring it full. And I'm monitoring this on another browser, so let me just make sure I got this squared away. Just checking to see the stream quality with the new laptop I got. But nonetheless, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you are doing okay. We have had ourselves a very interesting afternoon, to say the least. An interesting, really, 12 hours with this event that has occurred. Here's a lowdown right now before I even get to radar and all that. Winter storm warning. Everybody was included, but within the last, 10, 15 minutes, and let me bump this down because I saw like a red spike. Good grief. Within the last 10, 15 minutes, we've had Wakefield drop, Somerset County, Wycomico County. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It's just Somerset and Worcester. Wycomico's still in it, but Somerset County and Worcester County have been dropped. That's because the changeover to rain has already occurred. If I can get the radar back and actually pop up controls, well, I got it here.
New information. This special event has been updated.
Okay, so they just you'll hear a lot of these events here throughout the stream. And by the way, any watches, warnings, they're crawling across at the bottom of the screen. So just keep that in mind. There, some of them are include bordering counties in different states, but I have it set to just the state of Maryland. So if it touches like a bordering county, it's gonna pop up there. But that's just the way it is. Pardon me. Let's go into otherwise controls. Okay. So we've already had that changeover, and actually what I'm going to do is we're going to alter this just a smidge, and we're going to have the loop go for 30 scenes. I'll do 50 just in case. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this loop out, and you see a lot of that purple in the middle of your screen right now. That is freezing rain and sleet, and I'm going to adjust this. You can see as I go back in time. So here is 8:50 this morning. And then once you get to about 9:30, that sleet snow line was already pushing back north. And now it went from US 50 to essentially the I-70 corridor up through 95 in the metro by about 10:30, 10:45. I knew that because I was shoveling at that time, and you could feel the sleet, the change in the precipitation itself. And I tell you what, it wasn't fun going out there. And then this is what we have right now. Just some snow still right now in Cumberland and Hancock, getting into Hagerstown, Allegheny County, the western half of Washington County as well. For a lot of us, kind of like what we anticipated, 24 hours out, a lot of sleet going on. So sleet, freezing rain, ice pellets, grapple, whatever you want to verify it. We have a lot of mixing activity in Central Maryland, the Eastern Shore, and Southern Maryland as well. On the system, I'm looking here, it's popping up as sleet. So we do have sleet in those areas right now. And then down in the Delmarva, we do have rain. So Salisbury, Ocean City, Snow Hill, as a matter of fact, I think the Dover radar would do just a little bit of a better job since it's closer by. But you can see that sleet rain line really just along the Wycomico River and south and east. So for those down in Worcester County and Somerset County, and still even into portions of Wycomico County as well, we have the rain ongoing. I wouldn't be surprised if Wakefield at some point drops Wycomico from this, at least the eastern half of Wycomico would be dropped. The western half would still be in. But that's the way it looks right now in terms of the winter storm situation ongoing. Let me just see what's going on out towards Garrett County. It's showing it's a mix out in Oakland and the higher elevations, which is interesting to see. But I think a lot of that, just because the air is so cold, it's going to be snow. As a matter of fact, I can check this right now. I think I have the ability to. Let's go into the Mesonet, and I'll take the Mesonet full actually, and we'll get into this and interact and see what's going on. So right now, as it stands, it is 6 degrees in Vinegar. 6 degrees. So I'm willing to bet that that's snow out in Garrett County right now. It's 13 out in Hancock. It's 10 right now in Clear Spring. And then you see here, we're in the teens still, but we have just enough warm air aloft where it could become a problem. And then there's our above freezing line here down to the southeast. You see out in Quantico, Maryland, it's 35. It's 36 at Salisbury University. Princess Anne's at 37 at the moment. I believe that is UMass, Eastern Shore. So we're getting some warming that's contributing to our changeover, at least in our far southern tier. But right now, a lot of us are in that sleet to ice pellet range just because we have another warm layer aloft that it interferes, at least to some level. Let me go and do this. Going to peak wind gusts because I don't think the winds are kicking in quite yet, but they will later on. Snow depth, I think that's also telling. Wow. Snow depth right now at Lake Montebello is half a foot. Vinegar is reporting almost 9 inches of snow depth right now. And I can actually look at some snowfall totals if you give me a second, because I have the ability to access that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this back full. I'm going to go back statewide here as I bring you back to the main radar. And I'm going to pull up. Actually, we'll do a little bit of a tour. So as you can see, we got sky cams. Fort McHenry, we got some snow right now out of Fort McHenry. The downtown camera at the harbor is not working, so that's the next best option. But you can see the flag is waving around at Fort McHenry right now. So the wind gusts are picking up. It is driving that sleet, the frozen ice pellets. It is a mess at this moment. Taking a look at the next camera, that's the monument. Looking back, usually you could see downtown Alexandria from here, but you can't because the visibility is so stricken because of the precipitation that is falling. You can see some of the water is frozen. So that just pretty much shows you what's going on across Central and Southern Maryland. And then for the third sky cam that I have here, this is District 24 at Ocean City. And you can see we had the snow, but as you know, they had the changeover. So the changeover is really impacting what's going on down there in OC and limiting those snow totals as you look at District 24 and the Isle of Wight Bay. Let me look at a different source here real quick and just show you some totals if I have the ability to. Let's go into here. And of course, I got Logan. Let's go to observations. Get local. Okay. Okay, actually, so I'll start off with temperatures here. What we're gonna do.
Attention, a new special event has been issued.
That's probably an update to the winter storm warnings. We'll go over all those details here in a second. Let's go into display capture. Okay, there we go. Under is okay. Give me a second. I actually gotta do a couple things here real quick. I should have done this prior to, but it happens. Call this like scene for this. Call this. And that should work. There we go. Okay, so here's some temperatures. I know it's gonna be a little hard to see, so try to make this a little better for you. But um, right now, as you can see, it is cold. I mean, it's 19 degrees at Thurgood. Reisterstown's at 16 at the moment, 12 as of the last reading at Cumberland, 35 though down in Salisbury. That was as of the 1 o'clock readings. I'm willing to bet the twos are going to be coming in soon. And those are going to show some different readings. Let's go into the wind chill because I'm very, very curious how that's playing out. Single digits still. Single digits, and then it's even worse out in Garrett County right now. So bear that in mind. And even though we're above freezing, it still feels like it's 29 down in Salisbury. So the cold air is still very much a part of this system, and it will be for some time. Let's look at TMAs. Snowfall. There we go. So according to the 7 a.m. reading, so this is 7 a.m. I want to stress that 4 inches at Reisterstown, 4 at Laurel, 3.5 at Hagerstown, 2 at Cumberland, 4 and change at Waldorf. Now, if you give me a second, I'm going to go into a different source. So I'm going to zoom out of this and we're going to go to let's do storm reports actually. Put it over here. Fresh it. This is what happens when you try to look at stuff on the fly. But I'm reading these off and I'm looking at some of the totals Wow. Cockeysville, 10 inches of snow. Um, Near historic Ellicott City, 4 miles due west, a little over 7 inches of snow was reported. Columbia, 8 inches of snow reported by an NWS employee. An emergency manager in Montgomery County reported near Potomac about 7.7 inches of snow. That's a lot. That is a lot in a short amount of time. Um, 8.5 at Howard County near Granite. Jarrettsville, 7 inches of snow. That was from emergency management. Near Park Heights, so northwest Baltimore, from broadcast media, 2 miles west. So that would be not too far, not too far from Pikesville, actually. 6.7 inches of snow. How about that? I'm looking at some of these other totals here. Near Simpsonville, 8.5. Near Pasadena, 7.3 inches of snow. Any double digit ones that I could find? Not as of yet, but I'm looking here at some of the reports. And this is just the storm reports page. Some of this is getting updated, so these totals are probably going up still. Let me look at another source. And I'll actually bring in my face again with the cameras. And they're playing ads. Of course, they're playing ads because life. We'll go back to this for a second. There we go. We got a map of this stuff. Okay. Uh, what's the airport reporting so far? As of 9 a.m. this morning, near BWI, half a foot of snow. I believe that's right by where the reporting station is. So that is impressive stuff. So as you would probably be able to tell, this is a substantial snowstorm. This is going to put down a lot of snow. And then the part two is the ice that's falling right down. The sleet, the freezing rain that is going to fall throughout a good remainder of this event. And then part three tonight and really beyond into next week is the brutally cold air that will follow. And I'll talk about that in a second. But product. There's our temperature precip summary. This is since midnight. Doesn't show snow. That's great. Let's try this actually. Okay. Let's go to data calendar, and it should pop up for us. Only a trace of snow as of midnight yesterday at Thurgood, but I'm willing to bet that snow is even worse now. Snowfall. It's not popping up yet. I guess we gotta wait for official word and observations. But some of the numbers I just listed off, those are around the area from train spotters, National Weather Service employees, emergency management. Some of them were amateur radio, some of them were broadcast media. So there is a lot going on in terms of the snow aspect of this, and it's going to continue to be a problem throughout the afternoon. Let me bring back our other screen here, and this is the last 24, so I include all of this event. Let's look at the forecast. And regional, just to give you a rundown of what's going on. We have a bunch of winter storm warnings right now, and that's at the pink. It is lined up from Maine to. It was at one point lined from New Mexico to Maine. That's how bad this was. But winter storm warnings for 95% of the state. All of New York State, all of PA, all of Ohio, essentially, as well. West Virginia, most of Virginia is bad. Down the south, Mississippi, Northwest Alabama, Southern Tennessee, and getting into the upstate areas of South Carolina, Western North Carolina, North Georgia, they have had problems with ice storms with this event. I'll just tell you, some of the stuff that I've heard out of Mississippi, if you know anything about Matt Laubon, very well respected meteorologist in Mississippi, he's been covering this, and it has been brutal in some portions of North Mississippi, really widespread if you really think about it. It's just amazing just to see. Ice is just one of those things that it's the worst aspect of winter weather that you can have, because at least know you can push around and you can combat it in different ways. Ice, you lose traction on vehicles, it weighs down power lines, tree branches, and it creates a plethora of problems.
A new special event has been issued.
It's another event, but that's what they're dealing with down in the south over the last really almost 72 hours, at least 50 hours that this event has gone on down there. They're just now getting done in Mississippi, thank goodness, because it has been bad in the Magnolia State. But up here, we've been getting almost of winter weather, but primarily the threat for us has been snow. Thank goodness in that regard. Am I still concerned about outages? To some degree, because we have to deal with sleet and the potential for freezing rain. Could that weigh down power lines and tree branches down the line? Yes. Could that also play a role, especially with the winds coming in later this afternoon, into tonight and into tomorrow? Also, yes. I hope we don't lose power. I hope nobody here loses power, because we have some really, really bad cold on the back end of this. Let me just show you something. Let's go Euro. We'll go Euro. We'll go into our local Zoom here, and we will go into, let's just say temperature, air temperature. So notice the warm sector of our system is surging upward. However, on the back end, we do have some cold air wrapping around this afternoon and tonight. I mean, we're at what? As of this moment in the teens in Cumberland, we'll probably get into the 20s this afternoon with some sleet, freezing rain mixing in, but generally speaking, it will be mostly snow. Watch on the back end of this tonight into tomorrow what happens. Those temperatures stay around 27, 28 for a lot of us in central Maryland, and then they dip throughout the day tomorrow. And notice by tomorrow night, we're already at 19 at 7 o'clock, according to the Euro. And then we're down towards 10 degrees really by midnight. And places west of the Garrett County, Allegheny County line, it's going to be really, really brutal. I mean, here's 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, or Tuesday morning, pardon me. Look at these temperatures. We're barely above zero in a lot of locations. Bel Air, Metro Baltimore, DC, Waldorf, 1 degree. Now, I think the national blended models that I use for the extended forecast that I do, they're going a little bit warmer than this, but just know this is some brutally cold air. And it's not much warmer, but it's give or take a couple degrees. And then looking at Tuesday, I mean, 10 a.m., we're at 6 degrees air temperature. Air temperature. And I really want to put this into perspective for Tuesday morning. Here is our air temperature. Let me bring this over to the wind chill. Do you see these numbers? -10 wind chill. Some locations, -13, -15, -20, or even colder. That is brutal. And it doesn't get better throughout the afternoon. I mean, the warmest we'll get in the wind chill department on Tuesday is 10 degrees. If that, places north and west will probably not get to 10 degrees for a wind chill. Wind chill. And the air temperature, this amount saying about 14, 15 degrees. I think we might get to 18, but it would really be pushing it. We're going to be having some very near record setting cold weather. Something that we have not seen in a pretty long time. And notice the stretch continues into Wednesday. Here's Wednesday. That's the highs. Wednesday night, Thursday, and then another dip in the jet stream. Thursday night to Friday will reinforce cold air. And I tell you what, these numbers for Friday morning next week, I know it's a bit of a ways away from now. If this holds up, that's a big problem. And I'll just show you the wind chills. They're going to be bad all week. This right here is just miserable. If this were to hold up in the projections, minus 15, minus 20 in Metro Baltimore. Do you understand how rare that is? That's extraordinarily rare for us to be this blatantly cold. But that is a legitimate possibility at the end of the work week next week. And that's why, if you saw the weekly weather, I gave it a double one. It's just bad. It's bad. Next Saturday's wind chills don't look good either. And our temperatures really struggle Saturday morning. If there is some, and I mean some hope, it would have to be the beginning of the following work week. That's how bad the stretch is going to be. We are going to struggle to thaw out. And if we have accumulating snow, it's going to be stuck there for a pretty long time. And that's another concern that we have, especially if it's hardening the ice. That's why you also have to put salt on your paved areas, your sidewalks, your driveways, your little patios that you got. You have to put salt. Some people have like, let's say you live in the row house, like I used to, or I do still, I should say. And you have stairs in the back that are metal, like a metal platform, metal stairs going down to the little patio area in the back of your little row house. You have to salt them, because under these temperatures, even with salt, the effectiveness will not be the strongest. But you should still anyways, because it's better than no defense. Because once this ice sets in, we are not thawing out for a solid 8 to 10 days. That's the reality of the situation. It is going to be brutally, brutally, brutally cold next week. Make sure you have your layers and make sure you bundle up. I cannot stress that enough. What else do I have here? Do I have anything in terms of let's talk accumulation. So total ice. I know I sometimes I get a little wincy when I see these numbers. I mean, 0.6 of an inch of ice is rather substantial, but I don't think we're gonna go that aggressive. You even look at the freezing rain. I think it's taken into account. If I can find the surface of precipitation and go here, the threat of some sleet and freezing rain. I think, generally speaking, right now it is mostly sleet still for a lot of us, and I think that will inhibit how much freezing rain and ice accumulation we will get in total. But still, could I rule out 1/10 of an inch, 2/10? No, but I'm not the most confident about this level of icing that has been shown on this particular graphic from the Euro. That would be disastrous, but I don't think we're quite there. Um, more snowfall on top of what we've already gotten. Half a foot to about 8 inches in a lot of locations. Some locations have been on the lower end, about 5 inches. Looking at let's do the Kuchera. The forecast for what we have already had on top of this. On top of this. And that was as of 10 a.m. So I'm willing to bet it's even more so now. Let's look at let's do rapid refresh. And this is the big run that's been coming in now. On top of what we already have.
Attention, a new special event has
Another 2 to 3 inches up north, another inch, maybe an inch and a half in our northwestern suburbs, but around half an inch to an inch more of snowfall still to come. Ice, freezing rain could be a concern, but I think the HRRR is doing a better job of detecting what exactly we could get, but some of these numbers down to the south I think are more possible, but we'll see what happens with that. I think, generally speaking, we're somewhere in between a tenth of an inch and maybe a quarter of an inch for most. On the extreme end, could you see 3/10? Could you see 4/10? Potentially, and that would be a problem. But right now, I think, generally speaking, not to dismiss that a tenth of an inch or 2/10 of an inch, a quarter inch is not a problem. It's very much a problem when it comes to ice accumulation. But I don't think it's that aggressive, at least in Metro Baltimore and DC proper. Now, South could be a different story. Let's look at something else here. Gus. I'll bring this back. So we already have gusts right now, 20 to 25, right? Those will continue throughout the afternoon. Here's the problem. The winds really start kicking in Monday. Look at these gusts at 9 a.m. We're talking 30, 40 mile per hour winds. And that continues throughout the day. And that ushers in some very, 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 very cold air. That is going to be brutal for the upcoming work week. So, as I bring you back to face cam mode here, as of now, we're kind of in a, I don't want to say a transition, but a prelude to one of our two major transitions. Right now, we are in the precipitation phase, the winter storm phase of this system. And then what's coming up next is the wind phase. And after that, then we get into the extreme cold phase. So this is going to be a long, arduous process here. But that is the major deal that is going to really impact a lot of people. And I really hope you have a plan. Keep your devices charged. Stay close to a source of weather information. I cannot stress that enough. Here's the deal, y'all. I went and shoveled. I'm doing this. I have not eaten in about all day. All day for that matter. So I'm going to go grab me some lunch. I will keep this in the interlude for now. And then I will be back hopefully by 3, if not just after, with another update. But that is the gist of everything that's going on at this moment. Please be safe. Please be weather aware. Unless you absolutely have to, do not travel today. I would strongly recommend against it because it's just not going to be suitable. So there is that. I'm going to do this real quick. I'll do composite and I will do satellite as well, just to put this into perspective. By the way, there are severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings down in the southeast towards Dothan, Pensacola area. That's the other part of the system. That's the warm sector. That's where all the really bad thunderstorms are firing off. So that just gives you a perspective of the scale of the system. Southern Maine's just now getting it. we're getting it here in the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast up into southern New England. And then down southeast, we've had ice storm concerns across Tennessee and Mississippi. Thank goodness the precipitation's ended. But now, thunderstorm threat across South Georgia and the Florida Panhandle into the Big Bend. That's another issue that we are facing across the East Coast today. I didn't mean to do models. Let's do outlooks. To take off satellite and we'll look at outlooks just to get perspective. And I will actually also turn off our alerts briefly. What is it? Snowfall 4 inches or more. That we've already discussed that. There's a slight risk for severe weather down in the southeast today just because of the crazy convective activity of this winter storm that is in progress. Yeah. That is something else. Tornadoes are on the table there. Damaging winds would probably be the most prominent threat. Hail, because of the dynamics, are basically non-existent at that point. But probabilistic snow, week 2, no. What am I looking for? Let's check out this Ryan Hall index. By the way, if you don't know him, he's a really excellent streamer when it comes to covering weather. He does a lot of things very well for national coverage. But this is his index, and kind of like what everybody's been saying, New England's going to be the next ones up. Let's look at Climate Prediction Center. Climate. As you could tell, the temperatures are going to get really reinforced. Like, look at this. The eastern half of the nation is going to be in a deep freeze, essentially. 90% chance of being below normal temperature the next 6 to 10, the next 8 to 14. That is strong correlation. That is actually really strong for 8 to 14. 70% chance. It is going to be cold for the next week and a half, essentially. You are going to want to have your heavy jacket nearby. Let's look at looking at fire weather. Freezing rain. Okay. Quarter inch or more. The main concerns, southern Maryland. And the convective models have been pointing this out too. And that's why I said southern Maryland's a different story when it comes to the concerns for ice accumulation. And that's not good, because if we get freezing rain and ice accumulation, that is as I mentioned, that is the most crippling form of winter weather. So with that said, just be careful whatever you have to do today. I wouldn't recommend doing too much more than what you have to do, and do not travel. Snow amount. What would that be for parks? This is going to be good for like your skiing parks, your resorts, the mountains out in western Maryland. It's going to be good for that. It's going to be really good for the Poconos as well. The Shenandoahs, the Alleghenies, the Blue Ridge. It's going to be good for those locations out in the mountainous ranges that have ski resorts, because it's going to really benefit with natural snow. But on the other hand, it's a massive inconvenience for a lot of us that would be commuting, especially tomorrow. Rush hour, I wouldn't be surprised if there are closings, so bear that in mind. By the way, and I know I said I gotta eat here, but I want to get this up real quick. The Proving Ground is closed through Monday evening, just so you know. The Aberdeen Proving Ground. All-State Career closed Sunday. Forgive me, I heard a sound. That means there's a confirmed tornado somewhere as well. Yep, that one got confirmed. That looked. I'm just curious about these storms here, because there's a lot going on within this convective system. But if you have anybody that you know down towards Defuniak Springs or Ponce de Leon, Florida, they got a tornado in progress over there. Debris. there's something there. So I just thought you would probably want to know about that at this point. But up here, as I make the radar look less and less of a mess, hopefully, and get back to our winter mode here. That is the general gist of things. I'm just gonna leave satellite, leave on composite, if I can actually do that. There we go. And this is happening across the East Coast here. Just a mess of everything. But hopefully I'll be back around 3 o'clock with another update. Until then, please be safe, please be weather aware. I will leave this in the intermission screen. Mic check 1 2 1 2. All right, we're back in. This is gonna be a relatively brief update, but let me bring you back full to the collection. Oops. There we go. But let me just give you a rundown of what's going on here. Is this system gonna give me outages? Hang on a minute. There's a feature on my second system here that can potentially look at outages. Oh, by the way, I got make sure these cameras are still going. There's one that was. I gotta keep going. There we go. All right. Do data overlays. Let's do. Okay, county's working. Okay. So I can do this real quick if I have to. Okay, let's do this. All right, this data is coming from poweroutage.us, according to their observations. Let me do this. It's over. And I'm going to entrust that it will switch over to source 2, which it does. Thank goodness. Okay. So here we are right now with our winter storm warnings in place. There's one county that's shaded in so far, and that would be Morgan County, West Virginia. Out of the 11,000 that are tracked at the moment, there's only 300 out. And I shouldn't say only. That's 300 people that have their lives inconvenienced right now, especially with the cold air that's going to be coming into Western Maryland and the West Virginia Panhandle over the next 24 to 48 hours. But that's about 3% of the county that is out at the moment. If I do statewide comparisons, let's do this and then go back, do by state real quick here. Right now in the state of Maryland, there are only 300, I should say, again, I have a bad habit of doing that when it comes to power outages, because that's people have had their lives greatly inconvenienced. There are 300 customers as of 255 that are out of the 2.5 million statewide across BG&E, Pepco, I believe Delmarva Power, and then a whole bunch of other co-ops. But that is the way things are going right now out in the state of Maryland. So that doesn't even equate to 0.1%, but even then, that's 300 people that have their lives inconvenienced right now. 35,000 across West Virginia, or 36, I should say. It's pretty close to that, or without power out of the 1 million in the state. 3.6% that would equivalent to. Out of Virginia, 14,000 right now across the entire state. New Jersey only at 7,000 and 1,500 in PA. Where we've had the biggest problems, Mississippi, 12% of the state, and Tennessee. And that's because they've had an ice storm. And you can see all across North Mississippi, they've had these problems with outages. I believe once you start getting to the red, you're in 75+% territory. That dark red there, that's Humphreys County, Mississippi. That's 99% of the counties without power. Just about everybody. Let that sink in. So a lot of these counties here across north central and northwest Mississippi, Sharkey, Yazoo, I believe this would be Benton, Tippah, Lafayette County, Mississippi's had some problems as well. I've been hearing about that all morning down in the southeast. Nashville's had some problems. Good grief. You look at Davidson County where Nashville is. There are 200 plus thousand customers tracked, and there are almost 200,000 outages. 92% of the county. So there are massive inconveniences right now because of the ice storm down to the south. So knock on wood, but count your blessings. We'll see what happens down the line because as I showed you in the models in the last update, PG County, Southern PG County, Charles, St. Mary's, Calvert counties, we have to worry about ice accumulation. That could be a legitimate threat as we go into the afternoon hours and into the evening hours as well. So that is another thing to look at here as we just do our analysis. What I'm going to do is go back to Weatherwise, our primary system that I use here, and just show you the rundown of the Doppler radar at the moment. We're going to take these off and we're going to go back to the radar. Right now it's sleep for almost everybody. I would imagine higher elevations it's still snow, but it might be changing over as well. The temperatures are cold, but we have a warm layer aloft with the warm sector of the system becoming closer in proximity. Down in the southeast, and I will go over to the Dover radar here, we got rain, and we got some solid rain here right now. Southern Caroline County, still mixing in Dorchester County. I would imagine maybe Southern Talbot County too. But once you get down to Wycomico and Somerset and Worcester, it's primarily rain at this point. The temperatures are pretty warm. I can actually look at the observations, and I'll give me a second just to pull this up. And I don't know if it's going to show up too well here, but it's 38 at Salisbury Regional. It's 42 at Ocean City Regional at this moment. Notice, though, as of last reading at Easton, or actually, pardon me, Cambridge, it's been a day. It's been a few days, forgive me. At Cambridge, as of about 20 minutes ago, it was still 28. So it's likely freezing rain still falling in Cambridge, still falling in Easton at the moment. California, Lexington Parks, St. Mary City right now is in the mid to upper 20s. It's 20 at the Maryland Science Center here in downtown. At the airport, it's 20 still. So Thurgood, downtown, Carroll County Regional, still very much cold. It's 14 at Frederick, 12 at Thurmont and Camp David. It's 12 at Hagerstown Regional at the moment. It's 10 out of Garrett County Airport. So we have some very cold air back west, but the warm sector is pushing in some much needed relief, at least for the lower Delmarva. For us here, the cold air is way too strong for us to just have plain rain at this moment. Let me just, do I have the models? Because if I do, I will be more than willing to give you the HRRR run that I hopefully just came in not too long ago. There we are. Let me turn off the alerts. Did it work? Yes, it did. The observations gotta go here for a second at least. And then measure discussions, that's gotta go too. Shelter in place. Discussions, there we go. There's our measure scales, we got that off. And this is the 18Z HRRR. I believe that's the most recent one that I got available. Okay. And this is the big runs. Every 6 hours, we get a big run that covers really the next, would that be 48 hours or so. So here we are. Now, this will continue to persist in Central and Southern Maryland. Coastal Calvert, Coastal St. Mary's, Point Lookouts, the Ranch Estates, Solomons, perhaps California. We get a little mixing in as that that sleet rain line, the sleet rain line, pardon me, moves more to the north and west. It's possible that we'll get into an all rain situation across much of the eastern shore. Really, I want to say from Kent County southward. So for those along the Sassafras and down south, this could get into a rain situation later on in the evening hours tonight. It wouldn't be until probably after sunset, but still, the possibility is there. Moving forward with that, it's going to persist for about a couple hours. We could get some really heavy precipitation rates, whether it be freezing rain or whether it be rain down in our southern areas. You can see those yellows and the reds. That's heavy precipitation that's falling. So understand, whatever accumulates could do so in a very short amount of time this evening. And then we get into the back end of the system. We could be done with everything here in central Maryland by midnight. And that's a good scenario, at least in terms of trying to get Monday morning in order. But the problem is we may have some residual snowfall, especially on the higher elevations on the back end of this tomorrow. And then you start talking wind gust. And that's when we have big problems. As I showed you earlier, those wind gusts are not too kind. Where are you? We'll do this. And we'll pop up. Actually, no. Give me 1 second. Do. Right. Yeah. Oh, by the way, an official observation from Durga just came in. 7.6 inches of snow. Not quite the double-digit snowfall that has evaded us for 10 years, but still, that's substantial. That's probably one of the most substantial, if not the most substantial snowstorm that we've had in those past 10 years since that event. That just shows you we haven't had a whole lot of really bad storms, but we were kind of overdue here. Train spotter reported at Chelsea Beach in AA County of 6.8 inches of snow, 8.5 at White Oak in Montgomery County. That was from Emergency Management. Do we have any more? Earlier on in the day, what was at 7 a.m. this morning, it was 4 inches at Thurgood. A county official at near Cambridge, Dorchester County, of course, reported 2.5 inches of snow on the ground. That was at 7:48 this morning. So note that. Any more recent ones? Of course, we had the one at Thurgood that just came in.
Attention.
Near Edgemere, 9.2 inches of snow. Elk Ridge, 9. Those are from train spotters. Emergency management. Oh, we went well with the Montgomery County one already. Hollywood, St. Mary's County, 1/2 foot of snow. Pretty impressive over there as well. Just looking at some of these reports and seeing if we have anything of interest. Let's go into West Virginia because I'm curious. Preston County. Oh, goodness. Kingwood area, Preston County. This is from the public. Freezing rain is building up on power lines out in Preston County, West Virginia. That's not good. Monongalia County, West Virginia. That's Morgantown. Picture of a 16th of an inch to an 18th of an inch of flat ice coating objects around Cheat Lake. Not good. Not good news out there. And that's out in the northern portion of West Virginia, getting into the Panhandle. There's been all sorts of problems with icing down in Charleston as well. So, as I said, it could be better. It could be worse. Randolph County. That's, I believe, where Elkins is. And this would be near the Daly area in Randolph County, West Virginia. Some ice accumulation of 1/10 of an inch. So those are some problems there. I'm gonna see if we've gotten anything out of the Panhandle. So let me see if Morgan County just reported snow. Jefferson, just snow as well. Berkeley, just snow too. Wow, near Martinsburg, NWS employee reported at 11 a.m. this morning. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do the time conversions. 11 a.m. this morning, 7 inches of snow near in an area just east of Martinsburg. So there were problems out in that area. I'm curious about V8 too. Anything? Vienna, Fairfax County, 8 inches of snow. Burke, Fairfax County as well, or near Burke, 2 miles north, 5.9 inches of snow there. That's the DC Metro. Just to give perspective, Arlington County, near Roslyn, 5.5 inches of snow there. That was as of 1 o'clock. So some strong stuff there as well. What I'm going to do here, going to weather. I'm willing to bet the latest run. Okay, the latest runs are just now coming in, but we only have the latest big run in terms of all the parameters for wind. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go over to our precipitation type. There we go, and that should pop up. I think, yeah. Okay, that gives us a good time frame. Let me just pull this up real quick so you can see it. There you go. And you could see we're dealing with the sleet and the freezing rain. And that freezing rain is going to surge northward. It could become a concern tonight. As you can see, I don't have the color table to really decipher it as much on the system that I showed you previously, but that freezing rain line is really surging northward. And that could be a problem. Let's say Nanjemoy, Doncaster to Waldorf to Prince Frederick, maybe Dares or Stokely to the capital city. And then the Eastern Shore, it really would be Easton, Stevensville, Kent Island. So St. Michael's would be in play with this. And then the coastal areas of Queen Anne's County, Kent County as well along the Eastern Shore. And then up into Cecil, that would be a concern later in the evening. And also the warm sector is going to push northward. So places like Denton could get in on some rainfall as a reprieve to this winter precipitation. Cambridge could as well, but there will be cold pockets inland that could also inhibit how much of a relief we will get, at least from that aspect. But I think down in Dorchester, Wycomico, Somerset, you're getting into a plain rain situation that's going to be ongoing until the end of the event. You're already in it, really, but towards the end of the event, we could have some sleet, freezing rain, perhaps some snow on the back end of this as this exits later tonight. So that's 8, 9, really by 10, a lot of this is out of here. And then the winds on the back end tomorrow are not going to be fun. And if you didn't watch earlier, I'll just show you the previous big run that I have, and then I'll show you the wind aspect of this. So do I have just regular wind? Right. This is regular wind, but that's not going to help because I don't have labels really. We're going to do the gusts. Why not? Because the gusts are going to be the problem. So I'll back this up. You can see we got the wind gust now. On the back end, we'll get some reprieve from the wind tonight. Although I will say the winds will hang stubborn at least for a while down in the Delmarva. You can see the 30-mile-per-hour wind gust there at Salisbury around 10 p.m. according to the big run of the high-resolution rapid refresh. Those winds will remain persistent into tomorrow to some degree down in our southern counties. I just want you to note that. And then north and west to south and east, we do have winds intensify. Notice it's somewhat calm in the early morning, but once we get the rush hour, those winds are really going to pick up 20, 30, 40 miles per hour in some instances throughout the morning and into the afternoon as well. Those winds will lay off a little bit as we head into the evening, little by little, little by little. We'll have some wind gusts as we head into Tuesday. And I will note, any winds that are going to be added to this is going to make the temperatures that are already super cold feel even more cold. This is just ushering in those strong winds to the northwest. This is just reinforcing the wind chill. So understand, I can go to, let's say, I think 7 a.m. and I could pull up our air temperatures. And actually, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to back up so you can see the temperatures. Yes, they're somewhat warm, but then the front moves in on the back side and it will really reinforce some cold air with those winds tomorrow. We will not even get to freezing for really the next week, week and a half. You can see the temperatures are brutal heading into Tuesday morning. I mean, look at this. 0, 2 above, 6 below 0. This is air temperatures Tuesday morning. You factor in winds, let's say 10, 15, possibly up to 20 at times. This is your wind chill. Well below 0. And if you think that's bad, wait until the end of the week. There's another shot of reinforcing cold air with another trough in the jet stream. That will really make things difficult. So I'll go back to temperature here. This is air temperature. We'll really struggle to get into the 20s for a good chunk of us north of, let's just say, the I-70, I-95 convergence with the Beltway. North of 70, Beltway, and 95, we're really going to struggle to get out of freezing. And for further context, we will have to go to, I'm going to go with the Euro. Euro is typically pretty good at this. You look at this. We're going to be around 14, 15 according to the Euro. I think the GFS had somewhere around 20. And actually, why not try the NBM? Why not? Why not? And we're going to run the 13Z run of the NBMs. So this is the NBM. Heading into Sunday, obviously we have the cold air. Monday is going to be a really bad day. We're going to really struggle Tuesday morning. I mean, this is 7 a.m. The Euro was really aggressive, and in some extremes it could be that, but I think the NBM kind of blending the models together kind of gives us a better average. Typically, the Euro, though, is good at like the winter storm aspect and also some of the colder air, but this run was a little aggressive. Even then, what difference is 0 going to make from 9 above 0? Not much when you step outside. Not a whole lot. But I will say it may matter in one aspect. The snow melt. The effectiveness of the snow salts, the snow melt, once you really get below 15, 20 degrees is a problem. It's not as effective. And that plays a role into patchy ice concerns as we head into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, probably into next Saturday too. because we are really going to struggle temperature wise. It is going to be the Arctic tundra. So you look at 1 p.m. Tuesday, we're at 21, and that will probably be an afternoon high at that. We're really going to struggle in locations north of the I-70 corridor, north of the Beltway to get up above 20 degrees. And we'll probably not even reach freezing down in our southern communities. You look at Wednesday morning, that's bad. That is, 11 degrees. That's bad as it is. And by the way, I forgot to show you the wind chill. The wind chill Tuesday morning, 9, feeling like 0, if not below 0 in some circumstances. That is rather substantial stuff. And I'll take this forward. The wind chills during the afternoon are not going to be the best. They'll run probably 10 to 15 degrees metro and southward. But could it be below 10 degrees, single digits, north of the Beltway? North and eastern suburbs, north and western suburbs? Couldn't rule it out. And then Wednesday, once again, those wind chills are going to play a role. It is going to be 11, feeling like 1, if not 0, and below 0 north and west again. And then we have another shot of cold air that's going to be reinforced, by the way, with a chance of some snow Thursday. I'm sorry. Although I will say my confidence is not the highest at that threshold yet. It would be a system that wouldn't bring nearly as much as this one that has been impacting us has. But you look at Thursday, once again, cold. We struggle to get to 20. It may be some of the most brutal of this event. Behind the cold front, we'll really struggle to get above 20 degrees once again next Friday, according to the NPM. And the wind chill, not pretty. And you look at, just talk about Friday morning for a second. Below 0 wind chills, double digit below 0. North and west suburbs nearby. We're talking about some deadly cold if not respected. And that is why I'm hoping and praying we don't run into power outages, because that would be a major, major problem all week long. All week long. So please, please, please just be aware of that if you are commuting during the week. Make sure you are bundling up, wear multiple layers. I know I got my thermal, so hopefully I'm good. Knock on wood. But that's the general gist of things. And then you look at the weekend, not good. It's still cold. Sunday still cold. Monday still cold. You look at the next chance to probably get above freezing, at least for some of us, it would be next Tuesday. Not this Tuesday, next Tuesday. A week and a half. And we are going to really struggle to thaw out. Snow is going to be really persistent for a while, so you might as well try to get used to it. Just know it's not looking great until probably the early to middle portions of the following work week after this one. So please be weather aware. That's all I can ask at this point. So we got a stretch to get through, but hopefully we do it. Let's go, and actually we'll do. Leave it. I will be back. I'm gonna turn off this stream for now, but I'll have another update around 5 o'clock, maybe 5:30. That's when things should really get interesting. So stay tuned, stay weather aware, be safe. And the most important thing, just take care of yourselves, take care of each other. This is going to be a long, long stretch where we'll have potential for refreezes. Traffic could be a big issue. Commuting could be a big issue essentially all week. So the one saving grace, the one hope would be the winds Monday dry out that pavement. That's my one hope. Because if we don't run into that, we'll run into some concerns with black ice, ice on sidewalks. That's how accidents happen. That's how people slip and fall and hurt themselves. So I can't emphasize it enough. Please be careful this week. That's all I'm going to say on that end for now. I'm Jay Mitchell from 4NOWX. I will see you back here in 90 minutes to 2 hours. Be safe, be weather aware.